Every witch thinks they know Samhain, a time to honour ancestors, the Celtic New Year, carved pumpkins, all modern interpretations and not quite what our ancestors practiced. The origins of Samhain are far more fascinating than what you've been taught. This wasn't originally about honouring your dead relatives. It was about surviving the malevolent spirits that wandered as the other world drew closer. Our ancestors sought protection and preparation as they crossed the threshold into the dark, cold months ahead. I've wandered through the folklore, separated the myths from the magic, and I'm bringing you both the ancient origins and modern ways to weave into your practice. So if you're ready to explore the magic of Samhain, keep on watching.
Hello everyone, my name is Mia, otherwise known as ashandrosee. Welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about all things Samhain. I'll be giving an introduction for people that don't know anything about the celebration, as well as giving you different ways to celebrate that are high and low energy, but also budget friendly and broom closet friendly too. Everything I talk about in this video will be summarised into a Samhain workbook, so if you'd like a printable guide, then you can get that in the description below. But without further delay, let's get into this magical celebration. Starting with the pronunciation of the sabbat, it has a few different variations, but the most appropriate that I found are Samhain or Samhain. There is a helpful video from another creator where they break down the different pronunciations and the different regions that they're from, so I will link that below if you want to look at that pronunciation further. The name Samhain means November in Irish and summer's end in Scottish Gaelic, which gives us a hint about what the celebration is about. Samhain is commonly celebrated at dusk on October 31st to dusk on November 1st in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, this will be April 30th to May 1st. It's also one of the great four Celtic fire festivals alongside Imbolc, Bealtaine and Lunasa. Some people celebrate Samhain at different times. Some people do it at the solar midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. Others might celebrate it at the second new moon after the autumn equinox. And some people even celebrate on what is called Old Samhain on November 15th. I am very much someone who encourages you to do what's right for you and what aligns with the environment around you. All of us are not going to notice seasonal changes at the same time, so I suggest a time that aligns with your environment but also your schedule. Samhain marks the end of the harvest season and it's the final harvest festival out of all the three, the other two being Lunasa and Mabon, or the autumn equinox. But it also marks the beginning of winter and the darker half of the year. And as briefly mentioned, it falls between the autumn equinox, also known as Mabon, and the winter solstice, which is Yule. Samhain carries very powerful associations, things like death, ancestry, protection, purification, the veil, divination, change, releasing, and so much more. It's also a liminal time, a threshold moment where the physical and spiritual realms draw closer together. This is where you'll often hear the phrase, "the veil is thin" between our world and the other world. While this particular phrasing of the veil is thin is very new, it captures an ancient understanding that this time of year is very spiritually significant. Just as a note, if you can hear any rustling, that's my tortoise in the background, so apologies for that. Okay, moving on. Some people refer to Samhain as the Witch's New Year or the Celtic New Year, which is a more modern interpretation than ancient fact. This idea came from a Victorian scholar, and while Samhain does mark the beginning of winter and was very significant to our ancestors, it's not 100% historically accurate calling it the New Year. But of course, antiquity does not equal authenticity, so consider it the New Year if you wish it to be. Samhain is deeply rooted in Celtic tradition, especially in Gaelic Ireland and Scotland. The festival marks a significant turning point in the year, not just seasonally, but spiritually. In a practical sense, it marked a time where our ancestors were preparing for the winter ahead and survival. The harvest had been completed and any animals that wouldn't survive the winter would have been slaughtered. Any unusable remains would have been burnt on bonfires, which comes to give us the word bonfire. Burning these remains prevented any potential diseases, but also allowed for these animals to be honoured. Protection rituals would also be quite popular at this time to protect people against malevolent spirits too. Samhain appears over various Celtic regions with different spelling, and in Wales, Cornwall and the Isle of Man, they had varying celebrations too. All of these mark the same seasonal transition and mark either the beginning of winter or protection from spirits of some kind. And many other cultures have similar similar celebrations that either honour the dead or the coming winter. The most well known, of course, is Halloween, which obviously has roots in Samhain, but has been heavily influenced by American commercialism. And of course, there is Day of the Dead, All Hallows Eve, All Souls Day, and All Saints Day, I believe it's called, which have themes of honouring the dead too. The focus of honouring the dead for Samhain was heavily influenced by the Christian church. Samhain originally focused on protection from spirits instead and survival for our ancestors. We're about to jump into the ways that you can celebrate Samhain, but just before we do, if you're looking to decorate your altar or want to incorporate some symbolism of Samhain, here are correspondences to the celebration on the screen now. Now let's get into the different ways you can celebrate Samhain or simply honour this time of year. Also, if you're enjoying this video right now, I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. I make all sorts of witchy spiritual content to support your practice. Okay, starting with honouring the dead and our ancestors. Since ancestor veneration has become a modern way to celebrate Samhain, this is a beautiful way to connect. There are a few different ways that you can do this, one of which, and my most favourite, is making an ancestor altar. You can do this with various different items, but the main sort of things would be photos from those who have passed away, potentially their belongings or jewellery, candles, incense, dried rose petals, and offerings. You could also honour those relatives that have passed away by cooking their favourite meals or foods, or you could even just listen to their favourite music, or play their favourite films. You can visit the graves of family members or ancestors and tend to them, or leave offerings and gifts for them. You could even write a letter to them and speak it to them at their grave, or just leave it there. Or if you don't feel too comfortable doing that there at the grave, you can write it at home to anyone you like and read it aloud, or choose to just read it in your head and burn it in a cauldron. Some people do what is traditionally called a dumb supper, but I believe that's now appropriately called a silent supper, where you have a whole feast in complete silence to honour the dead. You could also research your family history or genealogy. You could have a meal with your living family and friends, but reserve a space at the table for someone who's recently departed. Some other options include going through photo albums and sharing memories with family or friends. You could also even light a candle in their honour, or wear their jewellery or belongings with you throughout the day. As briefly mentioned, fire has been central to Samhain for a very long time. So harnessing this aspect by having a gathering and a big bonfire, or even a smaller fire pit, or a cauldron, or something smaller like a candle would be absolutely fine. There is quite a lovely tradition with Samhain where if you leave a candle in your window, it helps lost spirits that are around, because the veil is thin, to cross over. Although I do need to mention, if you are leaving candles in your window, make sure they're not unattended and they're not near any curtains or anything flammable. You could even use LED candles if you wanted to. What I do is I leave LED candles in all of my upstairs windows where I'm not going to be, and having real candles in the dining room with me where I'll be for most of the evening. If you can't do any of this, you could simply just play some fireplace ambience on YouTube and just have that playing throughout your evening. Next up, we have divination and spirit communication. It's considered to be a powerful time for this, especially at midnight. You can perform any divination you like tarot or oracle cards, pendulum, scrying, whatever you prefer. You can use the divination tools just as you like. Maybe if you consider it to be the new year, you could do a spread for the year ahead, or you could use the divination tools as a form of spirit communication, asking for guidance from your ancestors and maybe things that you need to hear. You can also do dream divination, where before you go to bed, you ask for a specific sign from a loved one that has passed away, something really specific that would stand out in your dream to confirm something that you're thinking, or just to simply have as a sign. Although I must say, you should only delve into spirit communication if you feel confident, well protected, and have researched the topic. Protection and cleansing is rather important at this time of year, especially with the veil thinning and stepping into the dark half of the year. You can perform regular cleansing of your home and yourself. In fact, I highly recommend it. A suggestion is burning dried herbs like rosemary, common sage, or thyme, but make sure you obviously open your windows for good ventilation, but also to let that stagnant energy out. You can create protective wards, amulets, or conduct spells if you have haven't done so already, or refresh them if you feel the need to. You can make protective hangings for your home, especially things like witch balls or bottles, which you can hang on the entry points of your home, like windows or doorways. If you don't do any first of the month type rituals, you can do them around this time. I almost never have time to do this every single month, so I do mine seasonally instead. You could also pair physical and spiritual cleaning together, so decluttering to remove stagnant energy from the home, or cleaning with things like essential oils that have magical properties in there too. Combine those properties together. Let's talk about carving pumpkins, or rather root vegetables. The tradition of carving root vegetables predates the whole carving pumpkins and was done to deter negative spirits. Pumpkins are not native to the UK, so things like turnips or other root vegetables would have been used instead. So you could have a go at carving pumpkins or turnips or potatoes, whatever you have available, or if you don't want to waste them, you could just display them in your home instead. If you don't want to do this at all because you don't want any sort of food waste, you could simply just put candles in your windows, like I said, to draw the spirits that are lost, to help them cross over, and use those vegetables in your feast instead. It's also important to mention that if you leave anything carved outside, especially if you live in the UK, these can be damaging to wildlife. So try to keep them out of reach from animals on the ground, or bring them in as soon as you notice that animals are eating them. On the topic of feasting, a lot of people like to have a harvest feast, given Samhain is the last harvest festival. You could prepare a big feast with seasonal foods, or like the root vegetables I mentioned. You could even make bread or hearty stews. A fun gathering idea is a potluck where everyone brings a seasonal dish. You can also just make a meal for yourself if you don't want to involve other people, or order from a local restaurant that uses local produce, or even go to a farmer's market and buy seasonal produce as well. During your feast, if you're with others or alone, you can reflect, and this can be, if you consider it to be the witch's new year, you can reflect on the year you just had and what you want to bring in for the year ahead. You can also share memories of deceased loved ones, or simply express gratitude for the harvest feast that you have in front of you. Luckily, we live in a day and age where we don't have to struggle so much over winter because there is always an abundance of food. As mentioned, Samhain has associations of new beginnings, releasing and letting go. So doing activities or rituals that align with this is another great way to celebrate. A letting go ritual is rather popular at this time of year, where you write down all the things you want to let go of on a piece of paper and burn them and scatter the ashes to the wind. You could do this just with a candle or a lighter, or you could do this in a cauldron or in a big fire pit, especially if you want to involve other people. It's quite nice for you all to take turns reading what you want to let go, or keeping it private and throwing it into the fire. You could also do a cord cutting ritual. You could do a bath ritual, which focuses on letting go what no longer serves you, or you could simply just go for a walk and speak what you want to let go of onto the wind and let it go away. You can even journal on topics or themes surrounding Samhain. If you would like some free journal prompts on Samhain, I have my Patreon link in the description, which you can join as a totally free member. I've been sharing some journal prompts with the themes of Samhain each week this month, so grab those if you need some inspiration on what to reflect on. Another fun way to honour the reflection aspect, which I find quite fun, is going through my old book of shadows, especially if you have like older versions, and seeing how far you've come. You could go as far as just the last year, or all the way back to the beginning, just to reflect on the growth that you've made. This could make you feel quite proud of yourself, or even highlight some areas where you intended to research but didn't quite have the time, and perhaps highlight areas where you'd like to explore next. Another way to reflect is going for a walk and noticing the seasonal changes around you. You could also meditate on this walk, or meditate at home, whatever you prefer. This time of year can be energetically intense, so you might want to do some spell work that aligns with the themes of Samhain, but you can do any spell work you like really. But as I say, because it's so energetically intense, you might just feel the need to just completely rest and not do anything at all. A lot of witches don't do any spell work on the sabbats, they just spend the day celebrating or resting, so try not to feel too much pressure to do it. On top of that, the nature of the celebration of Samhain reflecting on people that are no longer with us could make us quite emotional or grief-stricken. So if you do find that your emotions need that space, Try not to push yourself too hard and allow yourself to go through those emotions. Creating a space that reflects the season could help you align with Samhain's energy, whether this be through fully decorating your home with seasonal decor, either natural things that you've collected on a walk or artificial items. If you really wanted to, you could make your own autumnal crafts like a wreath or a garland. You could even wear seasonal colours or colours that correspond to Samhain. This could even be something as simple as painting your nails or having your phone lock screen that colour. You could also provide offerings to nature spirits too, or go to a pumpkin patch or a festival. And finally, we have gatherings. You can host a get-together and share ghost stories and folklore, or you could simply just watch Halloween type movies. You can get together with your coven if you have one, or you can celebrate with an online one. If you aren't sure where you can find an online coven, I have a completely free to join Discord in the link in my description. We have over 700 members from all across the world if you'd like a space to celebrate. You could also attend a Samhain inspired festival if you're lucky enough to have one of those near you. At the moment in the UK, we have quite a few bonfires going on, like bonfire night. Whilst it's not completely replicating Samhain, it's still a big bonfire to go to. Samhain can ask a lot of us emotionally and energetically. It asks us to reflect on those who are no longer with us, what we would like to release, but also what we would like to protect. So if you find yourself feeling too tired, too upset or drained to celebrate, then either just postpone your celebrations or simply let it pass without any guilt for not doing enough. Sometimes we hold ourselves to a really high standard and expect a lot from our practice to be really elaborate and performative. So try your best to remember that you should be going with what feels right for you, and that small and simple practices don't hold any less power. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Let me know in the comments how you'll be celebrating, as I always love to hear what you get up to. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful Samhain. Well as how to celebrate. Oh, I need my lip balm. You hear my tortoise? Good girl, Shelby. Train. She's looking at me. This idea came from a Victorian scholar, and what was that voice crack? Oh my god. You want to come out? Hello. You have a little trot about. There you go. Just biting the tripod. Have you just eaten some dust? Shelby! How the hell did you just move that? Right, you're going back in your cage. Sorry. Really great way to releasing and letting go. So doing why can't I fucking speak? Shelby, you're actually doing that on purpose. What am I gonna do with her? I'm gonna come out again. Danger, danger. High voltage. Or go to a pumpkin patch, or, oh my gosh, just made me jump. You bit my toe and it scared me, you little toe rag. And they can't see you, you're out of focus. But be good girl now. No biting my toes, thank you.